Taylor Kinney and other One Chicago stars reflected on where their characters began. In a February 2021 YouTube video, the cast of Fire, Chicago Med, and Chicago PD reunited to reenact their opening lines, which resulted in some nostalgic treats for the One Chicago performers. The compilation quickly pushed viewers into a state of nostalgia, reminding many chiehards of their initial thoughts about these fan favorites. Some of the One Chicago players' remarks highlighted how much these Chicago first responders have changed, while others were inspired by the chaos they witnessed, such as Brian T's opening line when the brilliant Dr. Ethan Choi was hurriedly seeking an X-ray. Related, a guide to every must-watch One Chicago crossover episode. Severide's opening moments in Chicago Fire instantly captured the firefighter's cool confidence that would soon become his hallmark. Taylor Kinney's first line on Chicago Fire was a playful dig. Severide's first line on Chicago Fire was a toss-away joke about his late best friend Andy Darden, who tragically died in the line of duty later in the pilot episode. In truth, Severide's first scene is a moment before disaster. "Andy makes squad the day I no longer am in charge," Severide teases with his fellow firefighters in the scene, getting a chuckle from his Firehouse 51 buddies. While rewatching the scene in 2021, Kinney couldn't help but note the passage of time. Most relatably, its impact on his joints. Things hurt a little longer than they used to when that line was first uttered. Kinney teased as another Season 1 clip showed the firefighter heartthrob with no shirt on. Kinney's first line was fairly simple, but it established him as someone worth paying attention to as the firefighters zoomed toward the ill-fated call. Related, inside the Marvel-level Chicago Fire, Med, and PD crossover, it's one big movie. The Chicago PD stars rewatched some of their first lines. While Fire started it all, Chicago PD built on the franchise's momentum thanks to a fearless intelligence unit of compelling characters. In the One Chicago video, Jesse Lee Soffer enjoyed rewatching the former womanizer Jay Halstead in his PD debut. The detective's first line? "Could I please send a couple of Long Island iced teas for the ladies in the corner?" Halstead asked while ordering drinks at One Chicago watering hole, Molly's. Soffer broke down the scene with a smirk. "So I guess at the beginning of the show, Jay Halstead was undercover and on the prowl." As for Trudy Platt, Amy Morton, her first line comes after a chummy intelligence unit member hits her with a "good morning sunshine" while strolling into the precinct. The not having it Trudy didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Funny?" Platt deadpants, snatching the paperwork from him. As one of the most no-nonsense cops on Chicago PD, Morton's first line perfectly captures her beloved yet barbed sarcasm. Morton commented on how the years have softened Trudy a bit. "I've become a much nicer person and less sarcastic," Morton said, giving the camera a knowing look. Patrick John Pfluger made an explosive PD debut as Adam Ruzek, as indicated by his first line. As former intelligence unit lead Alinsky, Elias Koteas, visited the Chicago Police Academy in search of a passionate young recruit, he walked in on a lesson in which the students were tasked with disarming a suicidal citizen. Ruzek, got creative with the assignment. "You want to kill yourself?" Ruzek screamed at his partner before tackling him and skillfully retrieving the gun. "I'll do it." It's as dramatic a first impression as you get, and it remains one of Pfluger's favorite memories from filming the series. After all, it charmed Olinsky enough to land Ruzek in the intelligence unit. "That's actually still my favorite scene that I've done in this show," Pfluger said with a smile. Don't miss the return of all your favorite One Chicago stars this fall. Watch the Season 14 premiere of Chicago Fire, Season 13 premiere of Chicago PD, and Season 11 premiere of Chicago Med on Wednesday, October 1st, on NBC, and streaming the next day on Peacock. When fans think of Chicago Fire, one of the very first names that comes to mind is Taylor Kinney, the man who has, for more than a decade, breathed life into Kelly Severide, the fearless, charming, complicated, and endlessly compelling lieutenant of Squad 3. But what many might not realize is that the magic of Kinney's legacy on the series didn't begin with years of screen time, romantic subplots, crossovers, and unforgettable rescues. It began with a single line, a moment that was deceptively small yet packed with weight because it was delivered just minutes before disaster struck. A true reflection of how this show would marry character development with action-packed chaos in every episode to follow. Imagine the set in 2012, cameras rolling for the very first season, cast members still feeling out the rhythm of their roles, writers praying that their bold gamble on another Chicago-based procedural would resonate with audiences, and Taylor Kinney standing there in turnout gear, his helmet catching the reflection of the firelight, as he prepares to deliver the words that would officially stamp him into one Chicago history. A line not designed to be overly dramatic but rather to feel lived in, authentic, casual. Because that was the DNA of Severide, the guy who could crack a grin or toss out a quick remark even with flames licking at the walls, the guy who believed in cool confidence under pressure. The beauty of it was that his first ever line, tossed into the script, without fanfare, wasn't just about setting up his character's voice. It was about placing him directly in the narrative crosshairs of danger, because the scene unraveled quickly into catastrophe, reminding viewers that in the world of Chicago Fire, no moment of levity lasts long. No piece of dialogue is safe from being swallowed by smoke and ash, and no character is immune to the unpredictable cruelty of disaster. So, in a way, Kinney's opening words as Severide foreshadowed his entire journey, a balance between humor and heartbreak, duty and danger, camaraderie and loss. Fans who rewatch that pilot episode today often talk about how eerily fitting it feels that Severide's entry into the series was punctuated by disaster, as if the writers were subtly promising that his entire arc would be a storm of resilience, trauma, leadership, and survival, and of course they weren't wrong. Severide would go on to suffer injuries that nearly cost him his career, grieve the loss of friends like Leslie Shea, wrestle with broken romances, and shoulder the impossible responsibility of keeping his squad safe even when the odds were stacked against them. And all of it can be traced back to that first line. The moment where Taylor Kinney first allowed audiences to hear the cadence of Severide's voice, confident and sharp, just before the world around him exploded into chaos. What's particularly fascinating is how actors often recall their very first words on a long-running show with a mixture of nostalgia and nerves, because they set the tone not just for the character but for the performance itself. And Kinney has admitted in interviews that he immediately felt something special on that set, that he knew this wasn't just another procedural, it was going to be something enduring, something gritty, something heartfelt. And watching him now in season 14 still wearing the turnout coat, still barking orders, still risking his life in smoke-filled stairwells, it's almost surreal to trace his legacy back to that single moment of dialogue before disaster. A line that may not even stand out to casual viewers but to longtime fans feels like a spark that lit the fire of the entire series. The disaster itself in that pilot was crucial because it reminded audiences why Chicago Fire wasn't going to be just about shiny red trucks and heroic poses. It was going to show the toll. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe my sister wives to our channel and stay with TS.